Today, we're hanging out near Jacó and we're gonna try and do a full day of adventure for under $20. That island in the distance, absolutely free, and it's only accessible at low tide. So we're gonna try and hike out there, see all the animals we can find, enjoy the sun and this beautiful ocean. We're also gonna stop at some of my favorite low budget spots to grab a delicious bite without breaking the bank. From the Mirador in Jacó, we could see Islas Palma in the distance, waiting to be explored. We needed to get to Herradura beach to start the hike, but decided to make a quick pit stop at the local panaderia, which is bakery in English. I was able to get 2 massive empanadas, 3 caramel-filled churros, and a drink for under $10. I was really excited about the churros, so I might have cracked into them in the car. Herradura Beach is really close, and if you don't have a car, there's plenty of buses and taxis that'll take you there. It's a really popular spot, so we decided to go on a weekday to avoid the crowds.
We just made it to the beach. We're getting everything packed and ready to go. We've got the food, we've got the snacks, we've got water for little puppy dog, and already we're starting to see wildlife. 50 feet from our car, there's a whole bunch of scarlet macaws right up in that tree. And you can really see them going to town on their favorite food, the beach almond tree. What's really crazy about macaws is they have a special type of foot that's designed to be like a hand, and they can really grab and manipulate things, and you can see them just tearing through these beach almonds. This is where our adventure begins. We're gonna make it to that island, and hopefully the tide's gonna be low enough that we can cross the natural bridge while it's not underwater.
So we began hiking down the beach, and it didn't take long before we came up to our first set of obstacles, but quickly made it through.
Looking at the island way over there, I'm a little bit nervous that today's low tide isn't gonna get down low enough for us to cross, because that still looks really gnarly. So it's just about 1 o'clock right now. The true low tide is in about an hour and a half. So we're gonna walk this beach and just fingers crossed that we don't get trapped on that island. Right behind me is a tree that you definitely don't want to mess with. This is what we call the manzanillo tree in English, or the manzanillo tree in Spanish. The leaves are toxic, the fruit is toxic, the bark is toxic, and the sap is really toxic. One of the crazy things about this tree, when Captain Cook came to these areas, they just got off the seas and they're like, I'm so hungry. They started eating the apples from this tree and they got rashes all over their lips, and it started messing up their intestines. So today we're gonna just leave this one alone, admire from afar.
As we continued down the beach, it soon changed from sand to rock, and this is when things got really hot. No shade and the sun was blasting. We could see the island getting closer, and this was the final push before crossing over to Islas Palma.
This is the point of no return, because when we go to the island, if we hang out too long on that beautiful island, we're gonna be stuck and we're gonna have to spend the night there.
With just another 2 feet of water, this crossing would be dangerous, but today's high tide would add an additional 8 feet of water, completely submerging the entire trail back. And while the spirit of the adventure was high, the thought of getting stuck was always looming in the back of my mind.
We made it to the island, and now we actually have some shade. This looks like the perfect place to have our nice snack. I mean, look at this view.
Once we finally stopped to take a break, we began to hear all sorts of popping and clanking, which we soon discovered was the sound of the local hermit crabs lumbering around in search of food.
Well, if you thought we just came to the island for an empanada, then you were wrong. We've got an hour and a half before it's uncrossable again. Let's go explore this island. One of the things you have to do when you get somewhere at low tide is tide pooling. So we're gonna see what kind of creatures we can find just by flipping over rocks. Oh my gosh. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Check out these bad boys. look like monsters. This is a massive brittle star. They are related to starfish, and they have these tube feet, but they're way, way faster. These are predatory ones that go and find whatever they can and eat them. Now, they don't have eyeballs, but they do have eye spots that allow them to detect whether or not there's light or dark, and they can move in both. They actually can be out of the water a little bit. That's not gonna hurt them because they're used to being in these areas where the tide is always changing. But how cool is that to find right off the bat? I mean, look at these tube feet. You can just see them. It's like an alien crawling around in my hand. These guys are pretty cool. They always occur in just intertidal zones like this. Believe it or not, this is an animal. This is what's called a chitin. And chitins do a really good job of protecting themselves and then sucking on and just holding on for dear life while they eat stuff.
We continued exploring the rest of the island, trying to make it all the way around. I really wanted to climb to the top to see the lighthouse, but the cliffs were way too steep. We found all sorts of small caves full of nasty bugs, but still took a look anyway. The views were incredible, but then nature started giving us some subtle hints.
Oh my gosh. I don't know if that's like a warning or something, though. We need to get going back, but we're running out of time. So it is tide starting to come back up. So if we get caught down here, this looks like one of those bad places to get caught. We could push it a little bit further, but it just keeps getting more and more difficult. Yeah, look at these waves are just starting to really come in now.
We forged on for another 15 minutes and then...
This is clearly the end of the road for us. This is just too gnarly now behind me. It's not even passable. And I mean, look at this. This is the ocean right behind me in all of its force. When you fall into there, you're not coming out. That's just getting knocked around. No, thank you. So now we just gotta turn around and save the rest for another day, I guess. This is super cool. While we can't make it any further, the power of nature is just beautiful. Look at this right behind me with the waves coming up. Once you realize that you can't make it all the way around like you've planned, and you've made it as far as you're gonna go one way, which feels like we're over halfway, now we gotta go all the way back. All I hear in my head is this clock that's like, the tide is coming. So we really got to put the gas on and get out of here. Water's starting to touch the toesies. We're gonna make it out of here. Well, we made it back to the cross in time. It looks like the tide's plenty low for us to cross safely. However, if nature didn't want to give us one more surprise, it's about time for the afternoon rain. I can see in the mountains the rains are getting ready to come in. So we might make it across safely and just fine, but we're gonna have to make it before the rains come now.
We said our goodbyes to Islas Palma, crossed the land bridge, and started heading back to the truck, exhausted. Pretty much the whole hike back, I was daydreaming of the $6 pizza special that was awaiting me in Jacó, which means the whole day of adventure was only $16. Be sure to leave a comment with your favorite free and cheap adventures in Costa Rica.
We timed that perfect. As soon as we got back to the car, the rain started coming down. We are exhausted. That was 4.5 hours to hike out to the island, around the island, but it was well worth it. We saw parrots, we saw sea creatures, beautiful views, and had the whole pristine nature to ourselves. Thanks for tuning in to Peligro Life. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next adventure. But right now, I'm going in the ocean. Woo!